And we're back.
Welcome back, everybody, to the only podcast on the internet that is taped before a bored studio audience.
Yes, that's right. We are doctors.
But not doctors.
I'm Dr. Silverstein.
I'm Dr. Armshaw.
And this week we are going to talk about all things UK and US, indeed, in front of a live studio audience. But first, a warning.
Yeah, that's true.
If you happen to be cutting basil or basil, look at your hands, look at the food. Don't listen to our mellifluous tones.
Exactly. We are well known, and this is scientifically proven, people, to be incredibly distracting with our voices. So while listening to our podcast, please do not operate any heavy machinery. Do not handle any sharp objects. Don't start any wars with Greenland. These are just really important things to know.
We've been known to put people to sleep, but also to war. Sam. So let's move on to our first topic. This week we're going to talk about, before we get to that, things that happened in the UK, including Robert Jenrick MP's ass hattery, Grok AI's minor climb down in its war on
decency.
Can't use it this early into the podcast.
You're right. We really can't. And so
we'll have to wait until at least 8 minutes in. But y'all know what we're talking about there.
Yeah.
The Greenland situation in America, looking at ICE and its hiring practices and how they blinded a guy. And of course, the Insurrection Act and anything else that pops in their head in between.
Exactly. And we got a lot of things popping around in our heads, people. You know, we are scatterbrained for your benefit.
Oh, yes, for your benefit. So let's start with the I think the surprise big news of the week here in the UK. And it is a surprise, but also not surprising.
Okay.
For those of you who are unaware, Robert Jenrick was, up until Friday, a member of the Conservative Party and a member of the Shadow Cabinet. And the Shadow Cabinet is kind of like the main opposition party's spokespeople.
Right.
The entire concept of the Shadow Cabinet is that if, for whatever reason, the government falls, they are ready to step in at a moment's notice and just assume the responsibilities. Fun fact about the Shadow Cabinet, they're not actually shadowing the jobs of the government.
Really? They don't get to stand behind the minister and be like, oh, I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah. Well, they can say I wouldn't have done that, but they have none of the same information, none of the same material. They just are like, I'm the shadow. It's a nice way of dealing with, not winning the election and not being in the government, and sometimes being just one seat away from being in the government.
I think that's nice. It gives them something to do.
It does,
which is definitely something. And for those of us who are Americans, sort of watching as the opposition party in the United States seems to be incapable of doing much, although they've done a lot more than I thought they would. It is nice to see a political system where the opposition can be, sort of active and playing a role in shaping public opinion, even if they don't have any actual power.
Yeah, I disagree on that.
Yeah,
I think it's a complete waste of time having a bunch of people in the room who are shouting at the very tops of their lungs with very little inability to do anything about it. Like in America, you can shout at the top of your lungs, but you can also attempt to do things about it, like slow down the government or government shutdowns, which
that's true, or indeed getting discharge petitions through, which has been one of the real stories, I think, of this particular Congress, is just how many discharge petitions have gone through. At this point, the Speaker of the House isn't really in charge of the House anymore, to some degree. It's
definitely fallen apart, whereas in the UK, the system is, as you've heard before, very much skewed to the executive. So once you're in power, you have a lot of things that you can do and very little someone can do to stop you. So with not any further ado, Robert Jenrick was the Shadow Chancellor, Shadow Justice Secretary. I say that, was he Chancellor or Justice Secretary? Oh,
that's a really good question. We should know these things before we talk about them on the internet.
I thought I knew this right off the top of my head, but I remember his name because he's had so many jobs in the UK.
To be fair, that's one of the glories of the British political system, is that we put people in charge of the various ministries who are politicians and don't know anything about their briefs, really. It's a great way to run things, you see.
Shadow Lord Chancellor.
Lord Chancellor.
He was, up until the 15th, the Shadow Secretary of State for Justice. And what he did on the 15th of December actually goes back to the night of the 14th.
Yeah.
So apparently, the leader of the Conservative Party, Kimmy Badenoch, discovered kind of totally by accident because of it. And you can't see me quoting here, air quotes, but I'm doing it. They found a resignation speech for Jenrick because he this week resigned to Reform UK, being their, I think, second conservative defection of a sitting MP in this parliament.
Right.
And it was surprising not because he did it, but because his entire deal was found out by Kimmy Badenoch.
Right.
She put out a video on Friday morning saying, I kicked him out of the party. I found out that he was going to screw us over, so I'm screwing him over right now. Booyaka Shah.
I gotta say, like, it speaks fantastically poorly to Robert Jenrick, right? Because, like, this is one of those situations where if he had jumped rather than been pushed, right, then I think the news articles would have been entirely about, oh, he really, he scored a coup and, the big win.
And all that, yeah.
Right, exactly. And so whereas because she found out first and she acted first, now the story is entirely that, Kemi Badenoch is coming out of the stronger. Kemi Badenoch has controlled the party. Robert Jenrick has had all of his thunder stolen.
Yeah.
So it's one of those really interesting moments where the basic sequencing of events, the symbology of events actually has real political implications.
It does. And it's also important because of the situation with the UK right now. Reform as a political party, which is also a limited company.
Yeah.
That is.
So when you say a political party, you mean not a political party?
I mean, a business.
Yeah.
That is owned more or less by Nigel Farage. That party was about 32% in the polls. Some polls had it a little bit higher, but now there are some polls that have it down as low as 24%.
Now that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, so as you've heard on this podcast before, our most dedicated listeners who have also been in the A&E, some of you.
We hope our words bring you comfort.
Yes. I hope you're out now. That Reform can probably form a government on a little over 30% of the vote. So dropping down to 24% is concerning, but also indicates that you may need to look more considerably towards a partnership with the Conservative Party, which is
way less likely to happen now, I would think.
Yeah,
with Jenrick's defection.
Yeah,
because this really does reify the split between the two of them, I feel like.
Well, I mean, first off, like the main issue is taking Tories, right? So Farage is taking Tories, but he's not taking the good Tories. The good Tories left.
They're not sounding their best, Chris.
Ago. I mean, they're not like us. Okay. The good Tories left. Probably 2019,
right?
Between 2017 and 2019, during the Brexit madness, and
during the Boris purge.
During the Boris purge, he actively purged members of his own party because they weren't going along with him for the cockamamie idea of Brexit. Who remained in that 2019 to 2024 party, and I believe the three prime ministers within that time became an increasingly more like it was a distillation of crazy to a thick like goop of crazy.
Right, sort of a viscous goo.
A viscous goo of crazy, like Nadine Dorries and Suella Braverman and all these other like MPs who were pole vaulting to the right,
Right.
They were working really, really hard to be like, we could be just as racist. No, we have to be more racist.
Yep.
And Jenrick was one of those people who was like, I can be super racist. We need to be more racist to appeal to the right wing.
And this is the thing, right? He was so when the Conservatives finally lost power, right? And there was the big debate in the party about who's going to run things. My understanding is that the two main contenders for power were Kimmy Badenoch, who won, and Robert Jenrick, who did not.
Well, actually, from what I recall, the issue is that you had like a moderating force in a guy like James Cleverly, who was like Shadow Secretary, State of Defense, and he had a couple other jobs. He's still pretty out there as far as conservatives go, but he seemed to be like, hey guys, let's not go all the way fascist. He didn't even make it to like the final round. The final round wound up being Kimmy Badenoch and Robert Jenrick, and I thought Robert Jenrick was going to win and not Kimmy Badenoch.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised about that myself. I don't know. What do you think is the explanation for that, Chris?
I have no idea. I think that honestly, I don't know, because I would have bet any amount of money that the Conservative Party would have put their put their leadership back in the hands of a person who looked more like them, as opposed to they just had Rishi Sunak, who was Rishi Sunak, and I thought the final picture of him as prime minister was him drenched, calling,
standing in the pouring rain,
saying that now was the time for change, and you're just like, yeah, you're out. The next person that they had was, because obviously they lost,
right?
I thought that they might want to go back a bit more closer to home, and Robert Jenrick is somebody who could appeal to potentially more reform voters. But instead, they went with Kimmy Badenoch, and she had a terrible first year. But she is doing a lot better in her second year because she is allowed to be a mean high school bully.
She seems to have like the spirit for it, like she seems to like have a certain talent for it, and she's making it work for her. So I'm not going to say fair play on that.
Yeah, it is so interesting because when she started out, she was doing her best to she was jumping from topic to topic to topic. And Keir Starmer, who isn't a performer, he's not a stage performer. The guy actually, because he came into politics through the law. Right.
Well, this is the thing. He's a barrister, right? And as someone who has gone through bar training in the United Kingdom, right? One of the things that you find is that almost everyone who's preparing for the bar, they've all come up through debate. A lot of them have come up through, Amdram and whatnot. So, the whole point of being a barrister is that you speak publicly. You're supposed to be able to, carry an audience with you.
But this is not the same kind of public speaking. I remember when Keir Starmer first became the shadow Secretary of State for Brexit, and he was he was going up against people like the former attorney general, whose name I can't remember right now. It'll come back in my head, but he was this big bombastic man, Jeffrey something, and he would talk like this, and he would hold the Commons in his hand, and Keir Starmer would forensically stop and, Mr. Speaker, and he would just stop and do this thing with his hand where he would take his hand from the top of the paper down to the bottom of the paper and back, then wait, and then continue with his argument. And the only other time I'd seen that was in court. And it works in court because you have to be very methodical, and you have to be very logical, and you have to be very precise.
That's true. And there is, just on a basic, sort of tactics level, one of the things that you are taught is you speak at the speed of the judge's pen. Because the judge is writing things down. The judge is trying to organize all the thoughts that he's and the arguments that he's hearing. She needs to be able to figure out, okay, well, this is what they're saying. This is how this works, right? So if you've got a situation like that, you can't just be talking a million miles a minute. You've got to make your point, stop, make your next point, stop, make it very clear. I think perhaps the problem is that he only has the one mode, right? Yeah. He never did improv.
No, he never did improv.
I think that's his fundamental problem. He never did improv. And so
it's always my advice to people, if you want to be a public speaker, start with improv.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's terrifying to start with, but then once you get your brain to fire on all cylinders, zip, zap, zop, and all that, exactly. you yes, and the rest of it, just keep it going, and something funny will happen. Maybe.
Yeah. Or you'll die on stage. It's one of the two, really.
And having been in both situations,
exactly,
it's much better to be funny. So, so Keir Starmer's coming at this thing like a logical, sensible lawyer, and Kimmy Badenoch is coming at the thing like Jeffrey Cox, who was the former Attorney General.
Okay, we have.
And she was like, and she finally, around the middle of last year, or sorry, not the middle, middle of last fall, it was when she did the response to the budget. And she said, "I'm sorry to interrupt your Cheerios for some terrifying news about the economy." If the way that she said it was like, if you had heard that in high school, you'd go home crying. She's the kind of person who parents were called about, and Keir Starmer was the kind of person who she didn't even know was in the same school as him because he was always in the library.
Right.
So I think that's how she's come into her own. But then Jenrick was probably going to be in the same way. But Jenrick had no choice. He isn't going to be he's not going to be the conservative leader. He's not going to be anything more than that. And they kept him inside the tent to make sure that he didn't destroy the tent from the outside.
Right.
And obviously that didn't work for him. So he decided to jump on board with Reform and Nigel. And him and Nigel had a horrible public history.
Oh, that's delightful. Tell me more.
like basically there are nonstop tweets, and obviously, as everybody knows, I don't use Twitter. It's on my work phone.
Obviously.
Just putting that out there. But he going back 5 years, Jenrick's like, I wouldn't want to live in he's like, I wouldn't want to live in a country where Farage is the prime minister. This guy is a charlatan. And then Farage is sending things back at him. He's like, he's a liar. He's this, he's that. He's a terrible person. Never trust a Tory. And here's Farage welcoming in like the double digits former Tories now. And more importantly, all the Tories that he has brought back into his party, Andrea Jenkins, Nadine Dorries,
Nadeem
Zahawi, just the bottom barrel craziest people who had jobs because nobody else wanted them in the last conservative government. And these people were demonstrably bad at their jobs and demonstrably bad as people. Like Jenrick is that guy. Remember those videos that he was making last year, like over the summer, about people jumping the turnstiles at Stratford Station here in London?
Oh, no, I think I missed that. I heard about it, but I didn't do a deep dive on it. What was the general tenor? Was it measured and sort of straight down the center, that kind of thing?
Hell no.
Reporting of
Hell no.
Oh, I'm really shocked to hear that.
It was all just, do you think this is okay? People are working hard. You jump in the like it was very much like YouTube auditors. YouTube auditors?
Are these people who go out into the world and film themselves being total dickheads so that they can post the reactions online and claim that they're being oppressed?
No, sometimes.
Okay.
Other times they're like this Nick Shirley kid who goes out and he stands in front of a thing and says, I wasn't able to get in there, therefore crime. So,
I remember there being an explosion of that kind of thing during COVID, like during the lockdowns.
Those morons.
I am standing out in the streets of New York and, I'm not seeing, any dead people falling over and therefore COVID's not real.
Oh, I'm going to try and rush it. I'm standing outside this hospital. Fight the power. Go inside it, dickhead. So anyway, we've completely veered off here. But Jenrick has now become a member of the Conservative Party. I'm sorry, member of the Reform Party, which is more or less. I mean, it's becoming just the Conservative Party Part 2.
Well, this is the interesting thing, right? Is that you've got these two right-wing parties now, and they're both very right-wing. And they seem to be kind of cannibalizing each other's support. Except I don't know at this point how many people that are still in the Conservative Party would be willing to jump to Reform. If you're a conservative voter, right, there's got to be a reason why you haven't yet made the leap.
Yeah.
Because, in any kind of first past the post system, like the Westminster system, you always want to be thinking, okay, well, tactically speaking, I need to vote for whichever party is more likely to win.
Yeah.
I don't want to split the vote because that never works out to my benefit. So if you're just a right-wing voter who's looking for a right-wing party and you want the right to win, then you presumably are looking at the Conservatives, you're looking at Reform and saying, all right, well, which one's more likely to get the most seats? And I'm going to vote for that person. I'm going to vote for that party. And if that were the case, then you would expect it to see a really big drop off in the Conservatives, just an increasingly large swing towards Reform. And it doesn't look like we're seeing that. Yeah.
You're right.
The Conservatives are able to maintain a rump of support that is potentially a real problem for Nigel Farage.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking up the UK polling here real quick. But from what I recall, I'm fairly confident the Conservatives might be in second place. And if they're in second place, think about that. We're less than a year out. I'm sorry, we're about a year and a half out from the last election, right?
Yes, that's right.
And so the current government, there's a couple of different polls. I have an Ipsos poll. That was from November, sorry.
Okay.
There's a couple of different polls that say where obviously Reform's at the top, but Labor is third or fourth place.
Going great, guys.
Labor making all the right choices. Labor doing all the things a political party should be doing to win. Here I have most recent polling from Politico polls saying that the Conservatives are on average at 18% in the polls. That puts them firmly at second place, 10 points behind Reform, but a point above Labor. And in fourth place, it's the Greens.
Right.
Now, this means that taking what you said, right, that something is happening where the maybe it's this, that the evacuation from the Conservative Party, all the crazies have left the Conservative Party. Now they're firmly in reform. Now they're firmly backing reform. And the Conservative Party still has that rump of people who want to see kind of mean change towards immigrants, but also they believe that the Conservatives will also keep billionaires rich.
Right.
I mean, reform will keep billionaires rich and build camps, but the Conservatives are still probably seen as a safer pair of hands than the guy who supports Elon Musk's Grok or Elon Musk's X. Sorry.
Yeah, maybe the conservative voters are like, I prefer not to turn the United Kingdom into America Part 2. Because I mean, but that's kind of what Farage and Reform represent in a way. I think
they do,
is sort of like the Americanization of British politics
in the worst possible ways.
Right, and I grew up in America. I have 40 years I spent in America. So 30 years I spent in America.
Spent 30 years in America.
So, yeah. Anyway, but long enough to be able to get a good sense of how American politics works. I would argue, I really would prefer British politics to not be like that because it's kind of a horror show over there. I don't know if you've been reading the news, people.
I don't know if you've been keeping up. So let's move on to the next thing. Also, that's happened here. If you remember last week, we covered this thing called Grok.
Ah, yes.
Remember Grok AI? And the Grok AI have been doing some naughties. And now we're deep enough into the podcast where they've been making little child porn images.
Yep.
It's effectively a child porn machine.
It is absolutely it's because it's been... So just to set out exactly what this is, people have been taking pictures from other people online, usually pictures of women and pictures of children, and then asking Grok to put them into bathing suits or to remove their clothing or to do really horrible things to those pictures, basically involving stuff that I'm not going to mention.
Yeah.
You can imagine, because you're probably not even going to imagine how bad it is, basically. But so this is absolutely outrageous and very clearly the kind of thing that governments have every right to be able to rein in. And it's been fascinating to watch Elon Musk declare that actually this is all about freedom of speech, and freedom of speech means the ability to apparently create AI-generated child porn of actual children.
Well, the thing that they're arguing here is it's more about freedom of speech, but also it's about trying to bring down Elon Musk. This is all about how Europe and the UK hate Elon Musk, and this is more about him than it is about the content that's being created by his AI machine. Of course, because AI is not alive and it's just a thing. Right. You tell it to do a thing, it's going to do a thing. It's and we can't blame the AI because it's not a person. Right. It can't represent itself. It can't vote.
It has no agency.
It has no agency.
Yeah.
It's a thing that you built. So I built a guillotine and then I used the guillotine. You can't blame the guillotine for cutting off someone's head. You got to blame one of two people. The person who pulled the cord or the person who built the machine. So Elon Musk has been trying to divert all his attention away from him. But this week he's finally climbed down, kind of, because last week he said, okay, you can't use Grok to make these images unless you pay for the premium version of X.
Once again, like, that doesn't make it better. That actually makes it worse, because now he's literally profiting from people creating child porn with his Frankenstein's monster.
But now he's apparently they've now made it not possible to do it on the X version of Grok.
Hooray!
So you can't go on X and then say, make this person look like this thing. Or make this person look like this.
Right.
It was a weird trend though, because it did come out of nowhere.
Well, it exploded over December and January, apparently.
Yeah, and it's just like the people who support Musk and the people who support X are all to a man and a boy. They are. We have to stop that. We have to protect our children. Right. We have to protect young girls. We have to protect them from the hordes of 6'4" glistening men coming over in the small boats.
Exactly.
And the very first thing of the year is your Magic Man's machine is doing horrible shit, and you're just like, hey guys, slow down. What's the context here?
Not all child porn is created equal, Chris, apparently.
Cool.
I do wonder about the thought process that leads someone to say, yo, man, when you attack people for creating child pornography, you're attacking Elon Musk. I feel like that's not a winning formula.
It's the exact same thing they say whenever you say anything negative against Nigel Farage.
Right.
Nigel Farage. You call him a fascist. Why are you calling every single Reform voter a fascist? You call Donald Trump a fascist. Why are you calling every single MAGA voter a fascist? That's not fair and that's not right. I'm all like...
Well, it's a good thing I didn't say that then, isn't it?
No, you did say it. You did say it. Deplorables. Basket of deplorables.
I mean, I'm going to say something deeply politically incorrect, and this is politically incorrect. I know it, but I'm going to say it. I think Hillary Clinton may have had a point. OMG.
I know.
Because
I'm sorry, Patrick, you've been canceled.
I mean, she said half of Trump voters were deplorable, to be fair.
A basket.
And that's actually not true, because it's around 60% of Republicans that are 100% in favor of the shooting of Renee Good. So, that's right. And I'm going to say that's pretty deplorable.
That's super not great.
To be in favor of, do what the man with the gun says, otherwise they have a right to murder you in the face. Which is not,
it's we'll get to ICE in a second, but just this Grok climb down has definitely, it's kind of quieted us up for now, because it was very it was a big deal in the Commons over the past week and the previous week, because they were trying to get questions about this from the speaker. And as everybody knows, I work in the Commons and all that, and everything I say is my own and blah blah blah.
Brag.
No. But just so everybody's aware, when we need to ask a question like that we didn't know we needed to ask yesterday, we have to ask the question. We have to ask permission for the question to be made during urgent business, and that always doesn't get granted.
Right.
So it was finally granted, and it seemed difficult obviously it was difficult for supporters of Elon to get up and say this is bad. But it took a while for us to get here, but we're here now, and I hope that there's just going to be another version of this somewhere else. But because as you were pointing out before the show, it's only X that has prevented this, not.
Well, that's the thing, because Grok as a standalone app, I understand that some people have been testing to see whether the standalone Grok app will do it, and apparently it still will. So, and I wonder how much of this is, Elon Musk is just not really very good at his job and doesn't know how to get his little monster baby to stop doing horrifically illegal things. And how much of it is, no, he actually likes the horrifically evil things and would very much prefer that his monster baby keep doing it,
I just think that it's about engagement. The more we talk about it, the more people might go back to X, because as we talked about, there seems to have been quite the exodus from X.
Yeah,
because
that's true. Well, not everyone wants to hang out at the Nazi bar, Doesn't matter.
It's not as fun. The beer is not as good.
The 2-for-1 drinks can be a really good deal, but still you got to deal with the Nazis. So I don't know.
And it's all light beer.
Yeah.
And nobody there has ever had a date. And everybody there is afraid of girls.
Yeah.
It's a very weird bar.
Yeah.
Not a gay bar, just a weird bar.
Just a weird. Yeah, exactly.
They're afraid of girls, but apparently
weird, not queer, weird. So yeah.
like that whole counterculture, that whole subculture. Have you seen this? Before we take a break, we should go into have you seen how this newest version of the man's man, your Nick Fuentes and the rest of these guys, they're bragging about how they're virgins and they don't talk to women, and it's just.
I believe it looking at Nick Fuentes, look at that is a man with very little in the way of riz. I'm just going to say it.
But it's that's why I'm saying, they're afraid of women. If you go to that bar, it's such a weird vibe coming off of them that just seems to transcend all known categorizations of humanity.
I mean,
and it's just it's like they never got older than 10 years old. They're stuck mentally at 10, where you're afraid of girls. You think that boys should be in charge of everything. You want to play with your toys, and you're angry at everybody. But you're not. You haven't really hit the hormonal phase yet. you're still, and a lot of these boys seem
Emotionally prepubescent.
They're emotionally prepubescent.
Yeah.
And that's what that's what I'm getting out of these guys. They're just like ragey little boys who were coddled.
They're monster babies.
They are monster babies.
Yeah. I think I'm going to try to make that a thing. I'm going to try to make that a thing. Everyone who's listening, start using that in your everyday lives. That and fetch. We're going to make fetch happen.
Monster babies.
I love it. I love it. This is going to work. I see no downsides.
No downsides. Rome never loses a battle. Okay, folks, we're going to take a little break. And afterwards, we'll come right back with more stuff.
Woo.
And we're back.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time to turn from the sceptered isle, this jewel of the North Atlantic, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. We're going to head west, but this time, unlike every other episode, we're not heading all the way west. We're not going all the way across the Atlantic. No, we're going to stop halfway across because it's time to talk about Greenland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all talking about Greenland.
Which is one of those like, this is not a thing that I had on my bingo card for basically any part of my life. At no part did I think that like Greenland would be a major topic of conversation and play a huge role in geopolitics.
No.
And yet here we are.
Yeah, here we are because in case you've been underneath a rock or just watching lots of streaming, catching up on your Stranger Things, as I did last night. One of my friends had never seen it, so I recanted the entire series to her.
Damn.
Word for word, visual for visual.
It must
took
have
7 hours.
Every minute of that.
Oh, she didn't glaze over at all. She didn't just start wishing that she had never asked a question.
That's
and I didn't stop.
Yeah.
Because once the train left the station, we need to know what happened to Max and Lucas.
That's a good point.
All right.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Do they wind up happily ever after? Watch the show. Find out.
I haven't watched the last series yet, so I need to do that.
You have to.
That's on my list. So
here's the first 4 seasons.
Yep. Back to Greenland.
Yeah, we totally got lost there.
Yeah,
but the upside down. Okay, so
nice.
Yeah.
So for those of you who were not paying attention, just getting caught up now, one of the bugaboos of Donald Trump for his second term in office has been occasionally demanding that Greenland become part of the United States.
Yeah. It's this thing that he was talking about in the first in his first term, and it was basically, I want it.
Yeah,
that's the end of the logic there. There is all these arguments about military preparedness and Russia and China taking it and all that. Listen, it's this extreme Christian fundamentalist right wing desire to expand America as far as they can before they hit a hard wall. And
I mean, I think that is part of it. But I think, okay, so Donald Trump has been claiming that the United States needs to own Greenland for national security. We need it. Is what he is saying. And that is absurd on a variety of levels. Number one, Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark, which is a member of the NATO alliance. The United States has a military base on Greenland precisely so that it can, defend Greenland / North America from Russian incursions. We have way fewer people on the island of Greenland than we did during the Cold War, because, the Cold War ended and we didn't need so many dudes freezing their asses off.
Which we thought was going to keep us safer the end of the Cold War. Here we are, 30 years later.
Here we are. Yeah.
Ooh.
So the idea that the United States could not ask to station more troops on Greenland if there was seen to be a threat to Greenland, the idea that the nation of Denmark would not be like, yeah, totes, cool. Yeah, okay. Please defend our territory. Right. That's the bomb.
Part of the deal of NATO. It's part of the deal that America set up with the rest of the world.
Exactly. And plus the idea that China would go after Greenland. Why would no?
Yeah.
That makes exactly zero sense. So the whole national security argument is clearly bullshit. I think we could say that with extreme certainty at this point. There are those who have argued that the real reason he's interested in going after Greenland is because Greenland does have natural resources, including things like uranium.
Yeah, apparently there are things in Greenland that we could use nuclear reactors and also maybe mobile phones.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of the biggest push from a lot of these like right-wing expansionists is that we need to control a lot more of the raw resources that are in these different countries, having missed out.
Not at all like the arguments that the National Socialist Workers' Party of Germany was making in the 1930s.
You might think that we couldn't possibly comment.
Exactly. But what's really interesting, right, is that the problem with all those resources in Greenland is that they are in Greenland, which is insanely inhospitable to human life in the places where those resources are.
Yeah.
So getting any kind of like major industry out there would be incredibly expensive because think about the infrastructure you would need to just keep people there alive.
Again, you're applying way too much logic to a very simple concept, which is I want it. So I don't care. I want it. And we're going to go and I will spend $3 billion or $4 billion on an inhospitable death sphere. It's just so that I could say we can make our personal caliphate or whatever it was, whatever the King Leopold II had.
Oh, God. Yeah. Well, he King Leopold II, for those of you who don't know, he is the guy who created the colonization of what became the Belgian Congo, which is today the Republic of Congo. He ruled it as a private fiefdom. It was the Congo Free State, but he owned it. As in he was literally the owner of it. And it was just one of the worst things humanity's ever done. Go read King Leopold's Ghost for details and then never sleep again.
Yeah. And so it just, you get that vibe that these guys, all they want to do is just try to create more of those.
Yeah.
And so over the past week, the Trump administration has not really given up. They haven't made any overt moves to take Greenland, but they have been sending people to Denmark. They've been, I think maybe J.D. Vance may have gone.
J.D. Vance went to Greenland to, for sightseeing. But also, it was understood that he was going there to try to, boost support amongst Greenlanders for being taken over by the United States, which worked exactly as well as you would expect. The thing is, the people of Greenland are not super chuffed with being part of the Kingdom of Denmark. Right?
Yeah.
There is a very strong independence movement amongst the 57,000 people who live in Greenland. However, they're not an overwhelming majority. There are Greenlanders who prefer to maintain their association because, they're autonomous. They prefer to maintain their association with Denmark and, inside of NATO. But what there's no support for whatsoever is being taken over by the United States, to the point where the leader of the independence movement, who is currently in charge of Greenland, said, if we have to make a choice between part of the United States and being part of Denmark, we will choose Denmark and NATO.
Now, here's the other interesting thing about that is over the past week, a lot of images have been popping up from the American social media feeds that are there are two things here. One, they're incredibly reminiscent of Nazi Germany. Embrace Americanism.
Yeah.
But also we had there was a picture, and all this is AI generated as well. And it had two sled dogs, and it had choose wisely, and one of them was America, and the other one was Russia and China, and the sled dogs were Greenland. And you're like,
call people dogs. That's going to get them outside.
Let's just put aside the sled dog things. It's like you only have two choices here. We take you or they take you, but you're gonna get taken.
Yeah.
Again, I cannot fathom a world in where anyone in that room, anyone in the White House, has done the over under on how many Americans should die for this.
I mean,
I don't think Stephen Miller is sitting in there in his fucking bat cave. Not an actual bat cave like Bruce Wayne had. I mean, like a cave where bats hang out, where he's hanging upside down.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
with his leathery wings. And when they're sitting there, so if we want to take Greenland and start a whole bunch of wars, how many MAGA kids? Because a lot of them are of war fighting age.
That's true.
Should we sacrifice for, this billionaire's personal obsession?
Right. And this is the interesting thing, right? Is that it's not just that Donald Trump is saying that like we should negotiate to have Greenland exceed as the 51st state or whatever. Instead, what we have is Donald Trump saying, no, they should just give me Greenland. And if they don't, we're not ruling out military force to seize it, which is let's be honest what that is. That's threatening war, and that's threatening war with an ally, which is all sorts of crazy. But more to the point, it's threatening war with a member of NATO. And NATO is more than just the United States. And if Denmark is invaded, then they can activate Article 5 of the NATO treaty. And every member of NATO will be legally bound to support Denmark in that confrontation. Now, that may or may not mean that America goes to war with Denmark and then finds itself at war with the United Kingdom and France and Germany and Poland and Finland and Norway and like, you know, and all the rest, right?
Yeah.
But what it might very well mean is the destruction of America as a global power. And I know you're saying to yourself, but that's insane. America is hyper powerful. No one has a military as strong as the United States. And that is true.
No one can stop us, Patrick.
Ah, yes. As Donald Trump has said, no one can stop us, which is definitely a phrase that isn't said by supervillains in every goddamn supervillain movie that I've ever seen. But here's the thing, and this has been pointed out by smarter people than me. So I'm not gonna don't give me any credit for this. I'm just relaying.
Wasn't planning on it.
Okay, well, thank you for that. But yeah, so here's the problem. The United States Navy has a global reach because it has ports. It has access to naval ports. It has places that it can refuel. Yeah. It has places that it can pick up supplies. It has places that it can repair. It has access to the naval infrastructure of its allies. Yeah. And so if the United States goes to war with Denmark, we're probably going to lose all of that. And that is...
And much more.
Well, oh, yes.
Every single air base, every single American military base.
Well, that's the thing. All of the soldiers who are stationed in Europe, in Germany, you know, right? If all of a sudden we're at war with Denmark, Germany doesn't have to declare war and on the side of Denmark against the United States. But what they can say is get out.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I'm not entirely certain that when they say get out, they would say, oh, and also take all your military equipment with you. What they might just say is get out.
You have 15 minutes.
That's ours now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those Abrams, those are ours.
You can't take the runway with you.
Right.
You can't take the buildings with you.
Right.
That military footprint that we have invested in European nations, that's just there. We don't get to take the control towers. And as you saw with Afghanistan, it's hard to even take the stuff you're supposed to take with you.
Yep.
So that's what I mean. Like, there's all these people who are saying, well, what are you going to do? And it's just like, well, can stop buying American stuff.
Yep.
How about that?
Yeah. No one will buy American weapons at that point, because if you're buying weapons from a country, what you're really doing is creating an ongoing relationship with that country where you are their ally, because if they turn against you or you turn against them, they could just stop supplying weapons to you. They could stop supplying support for the weapons that they've sold you. And all of a sudden you find the military just don't work so good, right? Yeah. This is one of the reasons why, for example, Venezuela wasn't just an ally of Russia. He was also a huge buyer of Russian and also of Chinese weaponry, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, Europe has its own defense industries, and there's been a lot of pressure towards increasing spending on European weapons manufacturers because, well, if you cannot trust America, then you cannot keep buying American-made weaponry. You need to start supporting European the arms industry. Yeah. Just as a simple measure of independence.
So we've talked about this enough, I think. Unless you have anything you want to say.
Well, no, I just basically this is the kind of thing where if Donald Trump is just saying it as like a means of distracting people from the Epstein Files, which he still has not released at all. If all of this is just meant to distract from, the ongoing insanity in Minneapolis, if it's just a distraction from the Epstein Files, from the fact that he's deeply unpopular, from the fact that, the Republicans are almost certain to lose the House and may even lose the Senate, if this is all just a distraction, it's wildly irresponsible and crazy and weakening American power.
Which
And if it's not just a distraction from all of this, but something he's actually thinking of, there's some reason to think that this could really blow up in his face. Like, for example, number one, the United Kingdom and other European countries have started sending soldiers to Greenland.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, they're doing this, they say, to assuage America's concern about, Russia or China, seizing Greenland.
Sure, of course.
But that's not what's really going on.
No.
What's really going on is that they're putting those soldiers there so that if the United States invades, they'd have to kill French soldiers. They'd have to kill British soldiers. Yep. It would make it much more obvious to them that, this is a line you cannot cross. Because if you do, things get very bad very quickly.
This is what America did during the Cold War.
Oh, yeah.
America put American troops in Germany. We put American troops just on the border of the USSR.
Yeah.
We didn't put 1 million troops in the border of the USSR. We put thousands.
Yeah.
At Ramstein Air Base and things like that. And the reason for that is that if the USSR decided to become bigger, they had to literally, in kind of geopolitical terms, prick our finger.
Yeah.
They don't have to launch a singular nuclear weapon. They just have to prick our finger, and then you will get the full might of the American military industrial complex upon wherever you had hit that point.
Yeah. It's a costly signal that says that, we are committed to this. If you're going to do this, this is what the response is going to be. And then, of course, the whole point is to get the other side to not do that thing. Yeah. Right? You don't do it so that you can get into a war. You do it so the war doesn't happen.
Yes, of course. It's like the idea of mutual assured destruction.
Well, exactly. And as horrific as nuclear weapons are, and oh my God, the stories that I have heard about, just nuclear, just basic safekeeping in nuclear weapons.
Whoopsie.
Don't read too much about that. You'll never sleep again. But yeah, the one thing you can say about that is that we didn't nuke each other. The world didn't blow up in a giant plasma ball. So, hooray!
Yeah,
for
it required rational actors and all that, and so we could talk about that for a whole nother day.
I know, but the one other thing I'm going to say here, aside from the fact that there appears to be some real pushback from Europe on this, is that there appears to be even some pushback from Republicans in the Senate.
Yeah, that is true.
So some Republican senators recently went to Greenland, and what they said was we would not be in favor of this. And, we're going to make clear to President Trump that this is not a thing. The polling is absurd. Only 6% of Americans.
That's down from last week at 8.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
nobody wants this. Nobody could ever want this. This is the stupidest thing that will shatter American power. And it's absurd that this is something we actually have to talk about.
Yeah, but it is real until if and when somebody decides to stand up to Trump, risking their job. And who knows who that will be. Moving on, as we are running. Eventually, we run out of time.
Oh, no.
We can go for another 2 hours if we wanted to, but everyone would get bored. The audience would leave.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about the ice. The ice that ice stands on is no longer as firm as it used to be.
No, I would say the ice is getting a little bit thin.
It's getting thin, but it's also becoming slippery. Now, it used to be firm and had a lot of grip in it.
Yeah.
But now it turns out that the people that ICE are hiring, they may not be the top of the top, the best of the best. Don't worry, they're still getting paid a shit ton of money.
I think I heard it's like $200,000 a year.
Yeah, it was.
And 3 weeks of training.
Yeah. And that's what we're going to talk about. Is it really 3 weeks of training? Because they're definitely getting that cash. But are they getting it? So Patrick knows the name of the person. But long story short, there is a reporter from the Wall Street Journal.
No. So the reporter's name is Laura Jadid.
Yeah,
and she is a journalist with Slate.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So and she's a really interesting person, right?
And you can check out the story. It was on our stories on Instagram.
Absolutely,
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. That, and check us out on all the places where you get your social media. We're probably there. We're there, right?
We're just on Instagram right now.
We're just on Instagram right now. It's just don't have any social media other than Instagram, and then we're on all the social media.
All your social media,
exactly. So anyway, Laura Jadid, journalist for Slate, decides that she is going to apply for a job at ICE and record how that works. Now, why would she do such a thing? Well, interestingly enough, she is very publicly anti-ICE. She is not a fan of this organization. So a quick Google search of her name would bring up her work as a journalist, would bring up her thoughts on the issue of ICE. So she's saying to herself, "There's obviously I'm not going to get hired. The point is to sort of see how far into the process I get, what kind of questions I ask, what is the hiring process like for these people who are shooting women in the face and killing
shooting lots of people.
Yeah,
If you have an accent, then ICE has the right to demand your papers.
Yeah, and that accent is, say you have a Minnesota accent. Well, that's not the ICE guy's accent because, he's from Texas or whatever, and he doesn't understand the fact that America's really big. And,
doesn't need to.
Yeah. But so Laura Jadid applies for ICE, and, she figures that she's going to get some distance in before she gets found out, and, that will be the story. Now, what's really interesting about her is that she is in a position to make an application and expect to at least get into an interview because she's ex-military.
Yes.
She actually served with the 82nd Airborne in Afghanistan. So she is not coming from nothing on this. She worked as a civilian contractor for the Pentagon afterwards. So she has some familiarity with with the military, with security work. She has, the ability to have access to that kind of world, which, would definitely put her in a position to be able to make an application, be able to have something on her CV that is not, I'm an independent journalist or whatever. So that's what she does. She doesn't just get through the first interview.
Yeah.
Because you see, the first interview is literally just what's your name, what jobs have you held, what's your gender, that kind of thing, right? And then she goes on to the ICE web portal and sort of see, let's see what happens and do I get asked back and whatever. And after a little while, she gets a message from ICE saying, we are forwarding your application and whatnot. We need you to send in your ID. We need you to send in your background check, blah, blah, blah. And then the next day, I think she gets another email saying, welcome to ICE. You've been hired. You deploy in like 3 weeks.
It wasn't the next day.
It was the next day?
No.
All right.
So what happened was they said, could you send us like your documents or whatever? And I don't think she ever did that.
No, she did not.
And then about 2 weeks later, she checked again on the portal, said, we need you to go in for like a physical or something. And she's like, why do I need to go in for a physical? Like, you were already in. Like, she had been approved to be an ICE officer without having done any of the background checks, without having done any of the pre-certifications.
Sending in her ID.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, there may be the story here, to put it in the most charitable light possible, maybe the story here is that the Department of Homeland Security is such a fucking train wreck that their bureaucracy has collapsed entirely and they don't know what the hell they're doing. And they're just offering anything to anybody in order to get warm bodies on the streets armed with a gun. Apparently, when she was told that, it may take a little while for her to be able to, get sent out onto the street. And she said, well, I'd be okay with the desk job. That's fine. They were told, look, I'm going to be honest with you. The point is to get dudes with guns on the street.
Yeah.
So, maybe the nice story is that the state capacity in the United States is just collapsed and it's just total chaos out there. But I don't think that's the actual story. No. I think the actual story is that. And also, they're just really desperate to get armed thugs out onto the street because they are losing control of the narrative. They are losing control of the situation.
You know what? Every time I think about ICE, I think about Nicolas Maduro's private army.
Oh, the colectivos.
Yeah, 500,000 person strong private army that works just for the president of Venezuela. Oh, P.S., folks, in case you were also not paying attention, the Machado,
oh God,
Machado. What was her first name?
Yeah, Maria Corina Machado, I think. Maria
Corina Machado. She in an act of questionable decision making, she gave her Nobel Peace Prize to Donald Trump.
She gave her Nobel Peace Prize medal. You can't transfer the prize. That's not a thing.
She gave the medal to Donald Trump in a ceremony that only Trump cared about. Anyways, what I think is happening here with ICE is just that they need as many people on the street knowing that the kind of guys, and it's going to be guys mostly, going for ICE are going to be the dudes who want to beat somebody up. They have very little training. The guy who shot Renee Good,
Jonathan Ross.
Yeah, he apparently was like a security officer, like in his past life. That's just, I mean, that's not confirmed, but I believe he may have been a security officer, and then he went from a security officer to ICE. And looking at what Laura Jadid had gone through, which is basically nothing.
Yeah.
She had zero like real training, and they were just like, get you on the streets, let's get you on, in front of these, like let's get you on camera.
Yeah,
because I think a lot of this is just about content for Instagram or content for social media.
Spectacle.
It's about spectacle, and I think that's what it's about. And the amount of money being dumped into this is completely staggering.
Yeah,
and to know that a person who, frankly, I'm not in favor of the administration censoring and being horrible to various people, but you wouldn't think that Jadid would be the person they want to hire for ICE, because she might, have compassion and say, listen, let's slowly back away. I'm going to back away. You're going to back away. Maybe she would ask for your papers before throwing you into the back of a truck. Maybe she wouldn't even ask for your papers at all. You said, I'm a U.S. citizen. She'd say, well, I'm ICE, so I'm going to back up. Right?
Yeah. Right.
I'm only here to get rid of non-U.S. citizens. And so you've claimed to be a citizen. We will come back later to verify that, as opposed to throw you in the back of a truck, send you off to El Salvador, shoot you in the face.
Blind you by firing a pepper ball from just a few feet away.
Yeah.
Because these are all things that ICE has done delightfully. Like this. So with Laura Jadid, right, what she has proven is that, and the really funny thing is, after her story came out, the administration, the DHS said, oh, this is all fake news. This is all completely made up. This is slander and libel and all the rest of it. Yeah. And then Laura Jadid immediately posted screen captures of her, the ICE hiring portal, saying, welcome aboard, and also saying, we need your ID. So, it's kind of amazing that, they lie. They lie about things that are obviously checkable, where anyone can see. It's like this is an administration that has read 1984 and is using it as a rule book, right? There's that famous phrase from 1984 regarding the nature of the party, which is the party's final commandment, and the most important one, was to disbelieve the evidence of your own eyes and ears.
And again, how do you stop this story from going out? You don't. You just tell them to ignore it.
Yep.
Has it happened? Has it not happened? I don't care.
Yeah.
There's also the spin factory of Fox News, of OAN, all the right-wing news sources that will try to make this her fault.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
She's the one who shouldn't have tried to get the job, because she should have known better than to test the system that is clearly broken.
Yeah.
Right? But yet here we are. She got the job, and obviously she didn't take the job.
No, she never said, okay, I agree. They just were like, great, you start in 3 weeks.
Yeah, that was it. She never agreed to it, and they just like, yeah, you're in.
Yeah, it's just it really, it's a bang up job all around. Well, I think we can say.
I think before we go, first off, we should mention the fact that the Epstein Files are still not out.
Yeah.
And this is all of this is just a massive distraction from, what is potentially in there. And there's, people are now coming out with crazy, wild stories about Trump, crazy, wild stories about what he may or may not have done. And, I haven't been able to follow all of it. But I mean, people have also been coming out about like Hollywood directors and producers, names that and I've seen online. Okay. Obviously, I can't. I have no way to verify if it is or it isn't true.
Right, and obviously, we would not repeat information onto the internet unless we had good reason to believe it was true, because we don't like getting sued.
Yeah,
and so
But I mean, it's out there for everyone to see. Is it real? Is it not real? Who knows? But I mean, the fact that we are not still talking about this as the main story every week is testament to how hard they're working to get this out of the public mindset.
Yeah. I think, honestly, at this point, but for those of you who've been eagerly awaiting details of legal cases in the United States dealing with the release of the Epstein Files. Representatives Massey and Khanna, a Republican and a Democrat from the House, who have been taking the lead on the Epstein Files Transparency Act, they have now sued the Department of Justice, and they are asking a court to put in what's known as a special master. Yeah.
Remember that line? I remember that phrase.
Well, exactly, right? And so, so a special master is, someone who's appointed by the court to, determine which documents are, discoverable, basically, usually, right? So it's if there's a reason to think that one side or the other is not going to actually live up to their, requirements under the law for discovery, for releasing information, you put in a special master, and the special master is sort of, trusted by the court and also as bound by ethical restrictions and what have you to honestly determine, okay, this is something that we can release. This is something that is legitimately to be kept back. So a special master would be a perfect person to be able to look at the Epstein files and say, okay, well, this redaction here, there's no legal basis for that redaction, so we can't redact that. This over here, oh no, there's a legal basis for that redaction, so we can redact that, right? Someone independent of the administration, someone honorable, to use an old-fashioned phrase.
Yeah.
So this is what they're sort of asking for. And it should, I think, be within the power of the court to do this. How has the administration responded? And you're going to love this, Chris.
I will.
By arguing that no one has any standing to sue them over their failure to follow the law, that no one has the power to force them to follow the law regarding the Epstein files.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so what they're saying is that they are above the law.
Yeah.
When it comes specifically to the Epstein files.
No one can stop them, Chris.
No one can stop us.
Yeah. So this is sort of at this point, when they're breaking the law continuously for months at a time in order to redact the names of the perpetrators of crimes. And we know that they have done this. We know that the redactions are not just protecting victims. In fact, often they fail to redact information to protect victims. So they're kind of fucking up on that score. But then also using extra redactions to protect people who, honestly should not be protected. If they're breaking the law in order to defend pedophiles, we can only start drawing very, very adversarial inferences about who they're protecting. Who are they going to go to this much trouble for? Who is it that cannot possibly be revealed? Who's Trump going to die on a hill to protect? And I think there's only one person that we could be talking about at this point.
You never know. However, it is, again, this cannot leave the American mindset. I don't think it will. You're seeing across the red pillosphere, people like Rogan, like definitely detaching himself from the space station Trump as it slowly loses its orbit and starts potentially burning up in the atmosphere. And he goes off into AI land. You're starting to see more kind of, in a weird way, balanced coverage from some of these right-wing podcasts. Not all of them. There was one that interviewed Hunter Biden.
Wow.
To get his side, years and years and years later, where Hunter Biden comes off, frankly, looking presidential by our standards now. And I found those clips really interesting, and I might actually watch it. I hate watching right-wing podcasts, but the fact that they're even talking to Hunter Biden's a big deal.
That is fascinating. I did not know about that.
Yeah.
It's also been really interesting to see the Tucker Carlson wing of the, right-wing media complex basically start to say this ICE thing is looking terrible. Like you're starting to see some real, I think, splits in the rights. This is really interesting. You're also starting to see Republican politicians say things like Donald Trump is getting bad advice.
Ooh,
right.
Okay, you've seen that. I haven't, but that's like in Doctor Who.
Yes.
Isn't she tired?
Yes.
Isn't she looking tired?
Well, that's the thing. It's very famously the case that in monarchies, right, you never attack the king because that's treason.
Yeah.
What you do is you say the king has bad advisors and the advisors have to go. Right.
Yeah.
If only the Tsar knew what the Cossacks were doing, surely, right? And that gives you the political space to be able to to argue against the government of the day without putting yourself crosswise with the dude who could have you, executed or whatever.
Oh yeah, you can't. I mean, Trump still has an enormous amount of power and will become more dangerous if he becomes more cornered.
Yeah.
There are people who are already sniffing around whether or not he can stop the next midterm election. I think the easy answer is no.
Yeah. In fact, there's a really good video that I'm going to direct everyone's attention to. Jamel Bowie, who is columnist for the New York Times, as well as I think he's the dean of the Columbia School of Journalism.
I think so.
Yeah,
because he was like,
yeah,
you can't do it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and his point
this is nonsense.
His point was really smart, which is that this isn't about he wouldn't dare do it or it's not legal for him to do it. His point is it's not physically a thing he can do because the federal government doesn't run elections; states run elections. There's tens of thousands of polling locations.
Yeah,
there's only 1.3 million members of the United States military in active duty. Like a quarter of them are in Europe and not available for skullduggery purposes. Most of the ones who are left work in offices and are not frontline troops. So there's just not the capacity to be able to have troops everywhere to steal the election, basically, even assuming the military would agree to do it in the first place.
But the bigger threat, obviously, is secretaries of states of different states, which those elections are coming up. So as we often say on our social media, register to vote. Pay attention to what's going on.
Absolutely.
In your local elections. Every single election counts. I don't care if it's dog catcher, because a MAGA dog catcher will let that dog out if the dog is nice and white. With a black dog getting scooped up.
Yep, and lethal injections all around.
Yeah.
So basically, the one thing I am going to say, and this is another thing that Jamel Bowie points out that I think is really worth taking on board, right, is that if you're worried about, okay, well, there's an election, sure, but then Trump will never allow a Democratic Congress to be seated. The president plays no role in seating a Congress.
That is correct.
None whatsoever. And in fact, and this is really important, unlike the Senate, the House is not a continuing body.
Right.
And what that means is that when an election is coming up, when the House adjourns for the final time, the House ceases to exist. There isn't a continuing House at that point. Every 2 years, a new House comes into existence.
Yeah.
Right? And the leader of the House, the Speaker of the House, is not sworn in by the president, is not sworn in by any member of the executive, is not sworn in by any member of the Senate. They can't do that. They have no power over the House.
Yeah.
Instead, the dean of the House, who I think is the oldest or the longest serving member of the House, basically, is the one who swears in the new Speaker of the House after all the elected representatives in the House have decided who that's going to be.
Right.
The House creates itself.
Yeah. So
even if they were to say no one's allowed into the Capitol building, right?
Right.
Even if they were to do that, I mean, that would just put us into a tennis court oath situation, right?
Yeah.
Where the House could theoretically convene somewhere else.
Anywhere where those members are who've been duly elected, that is where the House of Representatives is.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be in that building.
And what's really interesting is that even if there were a bunch of red states that decided, no, we're canceling the elections, no elections, we're not going to have them, but the blue states go forward with the elections, then the blue states would elect a bunch of representatives for the House, and they would be the only representatives for the House, and that would be the House.
Yeah.
And then you would have over a 2/3 majority to do whatever.
Because even if they're not there, they can't stop you.
Right.
So, I think we should end it there. Remember to go out and vote. Remember to register to vote.
Yeah, register, check the laws, make sure that you're paying attention. I know it's a faff. I know it's annoying. But yeah, it matters about as much as it has ever mattered before, and probably a lot more than that.
Both in the UK and in the US, make sure that you are properly lined up. Like I've moved house, so I need to figure out how that's working.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's all in your hands, folks. And as always, I'm Dr. Silverstein.
I'm Dr. Armstrong.
And we're doctors.
Not doctors.
Good night.